Oh, yes. What's going on, you guys? Welcome to another episode of After Dark Sports with Kayla and David. It is the middle of the day. Kayla's getting ready to go to work. I'm off for work for the day, so it's kind of works kind of in polar opposites. But you just never know when we're going to come to you guys, and we're going to bring another episode. It just happened that we were supposed to do this over this weekend, but you had some breaking news. You had a lot going on at your job, right, Kayla?
Yeah, so I listened to police scanners as part of my job, and about 15 minutes before David and I were supposed to record, I heard car into pond, and I was like, what dumbass drove their car into a pond? And then I felt really bad for calling them a dumbass because they died.
Oh, damn. Okay. That's a
So
little
it ended
dark.
up being a fatal crash of some kind into a
Yeah.
pond in the county, and so I've been feeling bad that I was upset at them because now they're dead.
No, completely understand. I mean, look, when you want to do something and something happens, you're like, why? And it's like we have to sometimes let things play out until we get to the other side of like what happened. So no, it's not your fault. I was rushing today to try to clip all Trump stuff while he was in the office. He was talking about the sanctions against Russia and tariffs. And I was like, this guy's never going to rap. I'm going to be late getting home. But finally, he was like, all right, I'm done. Everybody get out. I was like, yes. So, you just never know what you're going to
waiting.
Right. You never know what you're going to get in news. It's just like, that's the exciting thing about our career. Like, you can walk in, it can be very straightforward, or it can be very like, you hear things and then it's like, oh, dang, another update. Oh, we actually died. Oh, well, it's not good. So it's a mixed bag of emotions for sure. So, man, we are in the middle. Well, I'm not even saying the middle. Would we say the beginning of summer? Is this the beginning of summer?
No, I mean, it's mid-July, so
It's like
it's been a
midway
month
point.
since summer started almost.
Are you serious? Oh my God. Like time is
Yeah,
like
June
flown.
21st.
Yeah, time has flown by. So we are at the midway point of um of the summer, and we have a lot of things that we've been doing. Of course, trying to still bring you guys content, but also trying to take a break from our work lives as well. I have vacations coming up. Kayla, I believe you got a birthday coming up and possibly some more time. I'm in the middle right now of actually planning a trip to Atlanta because this is how old I am. Um, I have a friend, well, actually, he's my frat brother, who's getting ready to have his firstborn child. He's gotten married. He is, had his fun for 2 years, and now he said, I want to pop one in the oven. So we have a baby shower we have to go down to in Atlanta. Not this week, but the following weekend. So, the thing is, so it's Atlanta, right? And the thing is, Atlanta's a big city, and it costs a lot of money, obviously, for the flight. Hotels are like crazy, stupid expensive right now. And I think between credit cards, me and my girlfriend have probably spent about over 1,000. We haven't even stepped foot in Atlanta yet. So that should tell you where we are economically. Just out here trying to make it. I'm not the richest person in the world, but we tried to make do with what it was. So we did that last month while we had all this stuff going on. We had a housewarming coming up. We had all this stuff going on in our personal life bills, right? And so I'm just happy that we finally got everything booked up, and we're just kind of just waiting to go. I think we're gonna add some things for the baby. Mind you, he's gonna wait until the day of birth to see what the sex of the child is. So he's not doing a gender reveal or anything of that nature, which is crazy because like gender reveals have gotten crazy nowadays. Like over the last like decade, like I remember it was like, oh, pop the balloon. And I've seen like dust challenge. I've seen like wrestling where somebody's like, you have a blue versus pink, and it's like whoever gets pinned, that's the sex of the baby. I've seen a lot of viral things. So I'm robbed of that opportunity, Kayla. I will not be able to get to see that, but that's okay. Still gonna enjoy that and enjoy all the probably some meatballs and the juice and catch up with friends I haven't seen in years. So I'm really looking forward to that on my end. What is going on, Kayla Land?
I am going to work for the 7th day in a row today. 7 of 10. We're almost there.
Oh
Not
my
really.
God.
4 days. So that has been painful.
Yeah.
At least. I'm fully expecting there to be some kind of murder spree this week. I know I joke and that sounds horrible, but I'm due for at least one more terrible night this week, and I have a feeling it's going to be tomorrow for some reason. You just kind of when
You
you
just
work in
know.
news
Yeah.
sometimes, like it's going to be tomorrow. But otherwise, before I did this long, abominable stretch, I celebrated 4th of July. Had a cookout the day of, then saw some coworkers when that was over. Then the next day went to a crab feast. For anybody who is not from Maryland or have been to a Maryland crab feast, you literally get together with people that you like, you sit down at a picnic table and you pick apart crabs for hours. So we did that in like a pool party, and then I went to the beach overnight and just enjoyed my freedom before it was stripped away for a third of the month. But I'm trying to make do with the time that I have before work every day.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But afterwards, I'm off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which like could be longer, Jess, but I appreciate the Friday. And then it's just literally counting down until the last week of July. I only worked 3 days. The first week of August, I only worked 3 days, and taking some much needed time off because I have had 2 days off that I have taken since the beginning of December. So
You are
I am
due for
looking
like
forward.
yeah. I need you to go on like hibernation for like 2 weeks. I don't need to see you. It's okay. That's insane. Yeah, I think at this point I value, and we talked about this in previous episodes, I value that PTO time because once the new year starts, you can't take it with you. So it's like spend it or lose it,
Mhm.
depending on your employer. Some people allow you to roll it over, but typically most organizations are like, look, this is what you got. Spend it, lose it. Doesn't matter to me. It's going to reset at the top of the new year. So take that PTO
Yep.
time.
But I did know I wanted to go away around my birthday, and then
Yeah.
our job is having a Rock the Camden Yards night, so I'm going to that because they're playing my favorite baseball team, the A's.
They're playing
And
the
then,
A's. Yeah.
yeah, and so I actually won free tickets from the station to go, so I don't even have
There
to
you
pay for
go.
that, which is dope. And
Yeah.
they're playing the Nationals the day before, so I just
Yep.
took off. I'm going to go with my dad.
There you
um,
go.
and then I have a Luke Bryan concert that I'm going to that same weekend. So things are looking up. I just have to get through this horrible stretch in the
So,
meantime.
long story short, if you're in the Baltimore area and you see a crazy girl with a A's hat on, yelling profusely at either her team winning or they're not really doing so well, that's just your cue to just exit stage left, to just
Yeah,
or just
avoid
or
me.
say hi. I know you from the podcast. Like I'm a big fan. Like yeah, definitely do that for sure.
If somebody walks up to me at a stadium and goes, "I saw your podcast," I might pass away. So
Oh no! Don't pass away. Don't pass away. Speaking
of
of sports,
happiness.
man, we have so much to get into this week. You actually introduced a new segment called "Back to Basics." You want to talk about what that is, and then we can dive into what your topic is and talk about it for a little bit.
Yeah, so back to the basics is just like a journalism 101. So for anybody who doesn't know, the keys of journalism are who, what, when, where, why, and sometimes how. And that I felt like there was a lot of news this week that just needed some explaining and just going right back to the basics and just starting from square one and figuring out, what is this really about? What is the who, what, when, where, why? And I actually sent a podcast episode to David because
Mhm.
it was recommended to me. Shout out to Pablo Torre, his new
Yeah,
podcast,
shout out.
Pablo Torre Finds Out.
Mhm.
I was exposed to him watching Pardon the Interruption. He sometimes fills in if one of the normal anchors is away.
Mhm.
And he started a podcast, I believe, less than a year ago. And he and Mike Florio, a big name in the NFL and sports world, did an episode after they got a 61-page document regarding a ruling in the NFL and its Players Association collusion case. um,
Mm.
so I was like, that doesn't make sense. collusion. What happens in sports, but why would the players agree to keep collusion from the owners a secret? So we know the who, we know the what. This took place, I don't want to get it wrong, I believe beginning in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, March of 2022. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to summarize this without taking 30 minutes on it. It was all throughout the league. There's apparently a special counsel that the NFL has that basically meets with the owners during their trip to Florida or wherever for the owners meeting, where all of the owners and coaches and managers and everything like that meet. And there was apparently a presentation that was talking about guaranteed contracts to players. And we all know the shocking contract Deshaun Watson got a few years ago, a fully guaranteed $230 million from the Cleveland Browns, something that has never been seen in sports world before. And this is really what kind of sparked it, because the NFL was like, we can't do this again. We can't let all this money go away. NFL is a business, it's a show at the end of the day. And the NFL and the leaders of the NFL Players Association struck an unusual confidentiality agreement, and it hid the details of an arbitration decision on players, including what league executives had urged teams and owners to do to reduce guaranteed player compensation. And the three that are mainly involved are Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Russell Wilson. And when Lamar Jackson, we all thought he was kind of crazy to represent himself in these contract negotiations, which is still true. I think that everybody should have an agent and it not be a family member, because eventually he brought on his mom. But I am not the biggest fan of Lamar Jackson, which we all know. So to me, I was like, okay, this is backing up to me when, teams are not reaching out to Lamar, an MVP who is a kind of generational talent in the way that he plays. Clearly, I've grown to respect him a little bit more since 2022. But
you come a long way.
Yes.
So Flock, don't attack her. She's the messenger.
I'm progressing. But no teams were reaching out to get an MVP of the league as a free agent to come to the teams. And no offense, but teams had Daniel Jones or Blaine Gabbert or people on there that, you can't realistically compare to Lamar Jackson. And so it goes in this document, it goes into explain how teams were basically told to not find ways to get big name players contracts with guaranteed money. And Lamar Jackson was a victim of that. And there was also Russell Wilson was really the one that was hit the most, because J.C. Tretter, who used to be the Cleveland Browns center and the president of the Players Association, basically went behind players' backs and, for lack of better words, shit-talked Russell Wilson. And when he was in a new position of power, it's hard to explain that without listening to the episode, because, he was eventually released from Cleveland. So you have to be an active player in order to serve on the Players Association, obviously. So when they ended up replacing some other people in the NFL's different committees, J.C. Tretter actually helped hire this president of one of the councils, who then in return gave him a position of power with the NFL. So that's collusion alone. And rules for how these people were hired were actually changed in this process. So there's a lot of questionable things going on. But J.C. Tretter basically shot down any chance Russell Wilson had of a giant contract. Now, obviously, he was coming, and this is the time when he was coming from trying to sign with Denver, and from Seattle. No, they were traded. When he was trying to get a contract with following Denver. And, it took him forever to sign in the offseason, but eventually was able to get to the Steelers and then now with the Giants. But basically, there were text messages, emails, conversations exposed in this document that was basically all of the NFL owners working together. I shouldn't say all, a majority of the NFL owners working together to figure out ways to sign players for less money so that they profited more. They could move on from players if needed, and a lot of it stemmed around the quarterback situation. So I do really recommend listening to this episode because I don't want to go on a tangent about it.
Yeah.
But the fact that players were hired by the NFL for these leadership positions to turn on the NFL Players Association and what these secret meetings are and the lies straight to the media and the negative impact it's had on some of the biggest names in sports in the NFL is upsetting, I think, if you're a fan. And as a player, I don't know if they're nervous to be cut from teams or not get contracts in the future or what happens if they hit free agency. But the second that this episode came out, and it's not like there's not articles from major sports publications out on it, I'd be sharing those links. I would be talking about it. I would be holding out. I would feel so disrespected and not want to play for organizations that I know are working against me. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So that in summary is a very quick way to talk about an hour-long episode and all the articles that have come out in the last week and a half. And really shout out to Pablo Torre because, without him being on PTI, a show that I love, I would have never come across this. And, some of my friends texted me being like, yo, did you see this? Or, it was all these articles. And I was like, I wonder if anybody's talking about it. And some of the articles were like, hey, in this podcast episode, I was like, I'm going to find this. I should have probably been listening to this for ages, but I'm going to find this episode and I'm going to share it to anybody that I know will care.
Absolutely. And what we'll do is we'll definitely link it at the bottom of our when we come out with this on YouTube, just so everybody can have an opinion for themselves. But what I'll say really quickly is that I just think that the question that should be asked is, when is enough enough? Across our league, like we they're not even trying to hide anymore that gambling is playing a major role in what's being decided. I mean, heck, they put a team in Las Vegas. They held a Super Bowl in Las Vegas. It's always been the owners trying to find ways, backdoors, side roads. Friends, mutual enemies, to try to do anything to withhold money so that they can keep the most money they can, because nobody likes to spend money. I don't know a person who is rich who wants to spend their money. That's just the bottom line. I don't know someone who says, "Oh yeah, I got $200 million. I know I got $200 million spreadsheet. So I mean, if I can get away with maybe 110 and a pocket 90 of that, or if I can just trade a player for no reason because I want to salary dump them and get money back in return, or I don't want to go over the cap or near the cap because that's more money coming out of my pocket." So that's where we are in the league. And that's why I think over the last 5 years, I've become such a player, fan, because these guys, whether we want to admit it or not, there are football players that are putting their lives on the line every time the ball is snapped. I mean, they've reduced rules to try to, allow players to play longer, but still you see gruesome injuries year after year where somebody's leg is tweaked and now they're out for 2 years. And then all of a sudden you see them, having to fight on a prove it deal to stay in the league. And it's just kind of the nature of the beast and, where we are at right now in the NFL. And it's only, to me, it's only probably more things that are going to come out. I think I heard the podcast. I was really upset about it because I feel like these guys, I
No.
mean, it reminds me of my dad. I mean, you play your whole life to get to this moment you dream of as a kid. And the only thing we ask for is not like it's a sport where you're going to play for like 15, 20 years. If you're lucky, maybe 5, 6 years on average. I think that is the average, actually. 4 or 5 years is pretty much the lifespan of the NFL average wise. I'm not saying I know quarterbacks play longer, but average wise, that's pretty much the lifespan of the athlete. So it's very upsetting. But no, definitely. I mean, we could probably talk for hours. We're both trying to cram this in
Yeah.
before works and stuff. So, but no, I'm definitely going to put it in the description below so you guys can have your own point of view on it. But definitely a lot to to unpack on that for sure. Other thing I wanted to talk about today, and it goes hand in hand with football, right? We talk about the collusion part. Deion Sanders was at the Big 12 media day. We're in media day, which means football season is really like right around the corner, right? When they have to have media day for college. So he brought up a point, right? Deion Sanders is kind of one of those guys. Like when he talks, you're gonna feel something, you're gonna feel some type of way about something he says, and he said, and he thinks that overall NIL money should be capped. And he said this because, he mentioned Ohio State. Ohio State led the college football last year in most NIL spending. They spent $30 million, I think $20 to $30 million on their freshman class to bring in one of the top classes in the world, also retain student athletes as well as go recruit um, other players from other good teams to build a national championship team. Now, there is no rules at this moment to say, hey, you can't do that. But there's been a lot of reporting of tampering that's been going on. Coaches have been snitching on players like, oh, this player contacted me. They shouldn't be doing that, and then they've kind of been either, left with less money for NIL or have to go to a smaller school and try to work back up. But I'll say this: I do think that we already have P4, right? P4 is the ACC, Big 12. Not, yeah, Big 12 is part of it. ACC, Big 12, SEC, and Big 10, right? That's considered the Power Four. These are schools that have limitless boosters. Hell, Texas A&M threw like $50 million, I think, a couple years ago or something. It's oil money, right? But the Group of Five schools, the smaller schools, they don't have that type of money. So it's like baseball, right? Where there are certain clubs that have the room to be able to throw $300 million at a pitcher, and there are smaller market teams that aren't able to do that because they don't have much of a budget to play with. So I think it's interesting, right? I do think at some point we're going to have the conversation of regulation, because if an alumni base is willing to pay $100 million in NIL, of course they're going to get the best players. Because if I have a player out of high school that wants to come to my school, I'm like, oh, here, kid, have $10 million. Like, I'm going there. Like, no questions asked. Like, where do I sign up, coach? Like, put me in. Like, I will run through a wall for $10 million, because at the end of the day, that's life changing money. I think nowadays most student athletes, I think it's like one. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Like one in like what 25 or 50 go to the NFL or something like that. So it's not many. So I think guys are like, look, let me go get my money now. If I'm not good enough to go to college, at least I've made millions of dollars. I can be a millionaire, and I can possibly live off that money, or put my family or my friends or people I came up with in a position to succeed. So that's my layout of pretty much Coach Prime. I know it's kind of mixed emotions. Some people say, I don't like it. He's crying, but I think this is inevitable. I think this is eventually where college sports is going to go. I think they're going to have. I know the NCAA is becoming obsolete, and I think that they're going to have some type of board that is unbiased. I'm not talking like a representative from each conference. I mean, like, they're going to have to bring in people that have no connections to these schools to regulate, to make sure everybody has their fair shake on the P4 and Group of Five level. So we'll see what happens. But no, I thought that was a very interesting read. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Kayla.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to add. I do think that it's important to note that Ohio State went on to win the national championship the year that they did spend all that money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big talking point for Prime or anybody who's going to argue that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you talked about, the disparity between teams being able to, or schools being able to pay up, and those who can't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there has to be some kind of playing field, even playing field, if this is going to be going on. And right now there's not. I already was not the biggest college football fan, because I don't like the idea that you lose a game as a school and then you basically
You're
have a
out.
long shot to make the college football playoff. Now that it's expanded, I did like it better. But if it's going to be the same teams in and out every year again,
Yeah,
then
that's
the
the fight
format
too.
changed. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
So
Real quick, Kayla, you are
that's
frozen.
it.
Your screen is frozen. Let me remove you. Put you back on
Do
stage.
I look crazy?
Yeah, your eyes are closed. I don't even want to do you like that as a friend. All right, now you're in the dark.
Hi.
Leave and come back for me. Leave and come back. I'm gonna move on. Um, Real quick, so we're gonna go to head scratchers of the week. This has kind of been something for us that we've kind of done for some time. Basically, we're looking at headlines that really make us scratch our heads as to like why would you do that? What is wrong with you? Like, are you on crack? Are you on coke? Are you sniffing fentanyl? What was going through your head when you did what you did? Like some of the stuff that happens and that we see in headlines, we're just like it's stupid, and it's obviously worth a joke. Okay, let me see. Kayla's back. Come on. All right, there you go. All right, now you're
2
back.
episodes in a row is so rude.
You are all good. I just want to make sure people see you. So I just basically went into head scratchers of the week and what it is. So you're back. Mine this week was the whole Najee Harris fireworks situation. Man, this guy, listen, this is a huge year for Najee Harris. We could be talking about this guy possibly being a career backup moving forward if he doesn't have a productive year, or even being out of the league, depending on what it is. So this is not what you want to, how you want to start your year. So apparently, from reports from ESPN, is that he sustained some type of injury to his eye. We don't know kind of how extensive it is, or whether it's going to deter him being able to go to camp. But his agent seems to say like, oh no, he's going to be fine, and I think he has no choice but to say that, because like you're not going to tell your team like, oh well, he can't go because he injured his eye. It's not what you want to hear, because he can get his spot taken by someone in training camp, or he's kind of on a short leash in LA. So he basically was setting out some fireworks. Some friends seem to have lost some fingers. This is like reminiscent to Pierre. I don't know if you remember that incident where that
Jason
man lost.
Pierre-Paul, yep.
Yeah, he lost three or four fingers
Yeah,
from
he
a
came
firework
swinging with
incident.
clubs going
Yeah,
forward because he had to have it all taped off.
yeah. The most like it's crazy kind of how that happened, but he lost fingers, and so Najee did something to his eye, and but his friend had lost fingers, and four other people were injured. So, long story short, not the way that you want to go into a training camp, and not the way that you want to welcome in. You want to make your introduction, I should say, to the Charger fan base, who is hoping to go on a deep run this year. They went to the playoffs last year, didn't have the results they wanted, and you're one of your running backs that you expect to play a big role this year is out doing this foolishness. So that's my head scratcher. I'm like, why? What?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, I feel like a lot of people. Now, I'm not like this. I think everything bad's always going to happen to me. But I feel like a lot of people are like, no, this isn't going to happen to me. And I feel like that was probably one of those instances where they're like, oh, it's just a couple fireworks, boom, boom, ah.
Yep.
But
But so
I,
close. It's so close to training camp. Like training camp's literally like what, next week or a couple weeks
yeah.
from now. Like, come on, dude.
hmm I mean, I think we can probably agree that the Chargers or Denver was probably the biggest surprise of making the playoffs last year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's already reports before this that the rookie that the Chargers drafted in the first round, Amari Hampton, is going to be the starter.
Yeah.
So while Najee Harris had 1,000-yard seasons every year that he was in Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
he still battled with Jalen Warren at times, was
Yeah.
put behind Warren in some games in favor
Mhm.
of Warren. And, I'm pretty sure he left Pittsburgh because he knew that was the trajectory they were going.
Yeah.
And when the Chargers shuffled up their backfield, he was like, okay, well, I can beat out a rookie. Like, well, maybe can't. Like, there
Yeah.
are already sites like Our Lads, who I find is really reliable for depth charts for the NFL,
Mhm.
already listing Hampton as the starter. So I understand that we have to get through training camp and preseason, and maybe
Mhm.
this is just going to be a two-headed backfield. I don't really know. But the fact that Harris got injured and you're already listed on one of the most reliable depth chart sites as the backup,
Mhm.
see ya.
And long story short, for all the fantasy football, because we have fantasy football around the corner. If you're looking for a reserve, I picked this kid Omar Hampton up. I think he's running behind a good solid line in LA. And I think if you're looking for a flex that can give you something late in the season, I think he's going to come on like probably by like week 6, week 7, and be the premier back in LA. But we'll see. That's just my prediction. Watch Scadaboo from the Giants too. I think that's another
Yep.
guy that's gonna
That's
come on.
my dude.
Yep, yep. I think those are
I
my two
quickly,
rookie.
I like started my fantasy football research
Yeah,
really hardcore. I like set up my spreadsheets.
do it
Uh,
now.
Not while I was at work, no. But like I started doing that over the weekend, and Scataboo, man.
Trying to tell
I
you.
still think I'm still gonna take him. Okay. But as far as my head scratcher for the week, I don't want to date the episode. So the MLB All Star Week is coming up, and in the All Star game, you have people who are named as starters and then reserves, and then some people will drop out due to injuries or just wanting to focus on the rest of the season. So my head scratcher is a Brewers pitcher, and I'm probably gonna butcher his last name, Jacob Misiorowski, who is in the bullpen. He's not a starter, but he did make the roster for the NL team for the Brewers. He has 5 career starts. He's a rookie. And there are so many players even this season with better numbers, better showings, better consistency, bigger, or more games for. I'm blanking on the sample size. More
Mm-hmm.
games for a sample size, and he has only pitched 25 innings. And
Mm.
I understand that Major League Baseball wants to market younger players or some players who don't have the biggest name to gain them exposure. But I don't think a pitcher who's played or made 5 starts and averaged 5 innings a game is the way to go. So his first 11 innings, he didn't allow a run. That's all well and good, but that how is he going to keep that up? How do we know that this is not just teams not knowing who he is, not being able to watch film, not being able to really study him, kind of have to go up there and guess at the plate? Like, I know you have scouts, but it's from his college days and it's not from what he's been able to do in the majors. It's just like, why didn't Caitlin Clark make the Olympic team? Well, because she was a rookie. She's too young. We don't know how she's going to transfer over to the professional league, and I don't know. I That's my head scratcher. I think I'm all for young players being exposed and being able to put them on a stage like either a home run derby or an all-star game, but this wasn't the guy.
All right, so I listen. I'm sorry to be I don't want to be the old guy get off my lawn type, right? But I'm like, so I read the article about this gentleman. I mean, I know he had like a 5 game stretch. I think he clocked like 100 and over 100 miles per hour fastball or something crazy. Great. But I'm like, I think you're inflating him. Like, my man only has played like a handful of games. I think he was injured at the beginning of the year. He dealt with some injuries, and great story. But just like if I say what I said about Jackson Holiday last episode, which was, hey, let's give respect to those who have put in the work, put in their time, and who have the stats and have a better sample size of of doing it on a consistent basis. This is outrageous. Okay, I feel like we could go so many more directions in All Star, and especially pitching, right? And I think that there are some more deserving people who deserve to get this slot. I don't know who my man knows. Okay, Jacob. I don't know you from a street sign down the street. I don't. But I'm just saying that whoever you convinced to let you into this All Star game, or however you did it, I just need to know your ways, man. I need to know how you did it, because I need to go into the office and I just say, hey, I've been with my company for a couple of years. I'm ready to be the president. Okay, I clocked in for like 5 months. I know a little something. So I'm just saying that's equivalent to what it is. It's like going into the workplace. It's like you going in and saying, I'm ready to be the news director. I've been here for a handful of years. Like, I put in my year. I'm ready to go, man. Let me tell you. You know what? We don't even need to be the news director. Make me the president of Hearst. Like, let's go. Let's go. Let's make it happen, Captain. That's really what this is to me with Jacobs. Like, I just don't know nobody logically, and I understand the kid has some talent, but you can't tell me that there's anybody else in the league that could well, he's better than a lot of these pitchers out here who have been doing it a little longer, who have been their rosters, they have been asked to do a lot more, right? Than he has for the role he has at this current moment, that you couldn't have called on and say, okay, hey, you're gonna get the head nod for this year's All Star game. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Not even a head scratcher. Get him checked. Whoever made the decision, test him immediately. Test him for fentanyl. Test him for
Oh my
marijuana.
gosh.
Test him for cocaine. Test them for whatever you gotta test them for, okay? But this is crazy. This is absurd. This is like this can ruin the integrity of all. This is how you turn an all-star game into not being serious quickly. You're gonna go into the same issue that the NBA is having if you keep allowing nonsense like this. There has to be some type of criteria for you to be able to go to these type of games because it's a special moment. It's supposed to be a celebration of baseball. Like,
And the Phillies already spoke out about it, about how it feels disrespectful. So I think if it gets enough attention from clubs, I can't imagine there's not going to be internal discussions behind the scenes going forward. Like, hey, we do need some guidelines for this All Star game, and I feel comfortable saying that a lot of people are more into the MLB All Star game than anything else at this point. The NFL's has fallen off, the NBA's have fallen off,
mm-hmm.
and I do think this hurts. I think there's enough big names in the game, and I don't know if I can say that about the home run derby, but at least in the game that makes it still a must-see event, and it's fun. But yeah, if this guy comes in to pitch a batter,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be even more uproar. So there's no guarantee that you play in the All-Star game, but being named an All-Star is, there are great names across all sports that never made an All-Star game. First one that comes to mind is Nicholas Backstrom, and I will die on the hill of him needing to
Oh my
be
God.
an
Yeah.
All-Star
Yeah.
forever. So
Absolutely. And the fact he wasn't, I mean, I don't know who was smoking crack that day or who just I don't know. But like that's crazy that he did
not
not get
us.
named.
We would have done
I mean,
it.
at least one. I mean, out of respect, like, hey, you're about to go out of the league. It's your last solid elite year. Like, just put you in there to see what happens. Like, that's crazy. That is so crazy. Well, look, that is all of our topics for this week. But before we let you guys go, we do want to let you guys know that we are now on Twitter as an official podcast, Sports After Dark. Shout out to Kayla for doing this. She created it this week. Look, follow us. I actually have logged in, so I'm gonna start doing some tweets because there might be things that happen during the week, right, where we may not be able to get to it in the podcast, but we can react to it real time. Definitely follow us, please. We're going to post some of our segments. We're going to push you towards content. Also, we're in the midst of working on other platforms as well, which we're going to do. Not just obviously Apple, but other, just kind of open this up. So eventually we can go live and you guys can comment in real time and have fun with us. But we got to build the following up. We got to kind of continue to be consistent and do what we got to do. Kayla has to get to work soon, so I'm gonna let her get to it. I got to go up because my girlfriend, she gets to work from home, so she's already up. Yeah, she's up.
Okay,
While
Jessica.
she gets to work from home, so I'm gonna go up and we're gonna take a walk with the dog. But until next time, guys, be safe. We love you, and we'll see you on the next one.